Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Oh yes, I love that we're going back to this. You know, the news cycle moves too fast sometimes and we get caught up in all these different little things, we get too caught up in the details, and so too quickly we move away from important stories. And in this case, a really important story, especially considering the inauguration is in, 5 days now, it's yet again another example of Donald Trump being ahead of the curve and Donald Trump being proved right again, which is something that needs a little bit more emphasis here. Of course, we've done the Trump flashback, showing that moment from Donald Trump's first term where he was urging Gavin Newsom to take fire management and fire safety protocols a whole lot more seriously. And so I guess what I'm trying to get at here is that this whole situation of Trump trying to warn Gavin Newsom or get him to take this stuff seriously, it was a little blip on the radar, a little flashback clip that people popped up, but the story is actually much bigger than that, and it really builds into the incompetence of Gavin Newsom and these other Democrats. In other words, like many of the things that we've been covering, it's so much worse than you actually think it is. And so we got to change the focus here a little bit and really put this part of the story into clear perspective, as we're now learning that not only did Donald Trump try to warn Gavin Newsom, but on many occasions he tried to get Gavin Newsom to sign off on things that would have helped California dealing with these types of wildfires. And each and every single time, according to Donald Trump, Gavin Newsom rejected any of the proposals that were coming from the federal government at the time, which was the Trump administration. This is a really important story that not enough people, and especially the media, are not putting enough emphasis on. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Okay, so of course we've been hearing from Democrats, let's not make this political, let's not litigate what happened, let's just kumbaya and come together and give all these loser Democrats the support that they need in these hard times of crisis management. To which my response is, yeah, nice try to avoid accountability, Democrats, but we're not making this political. No, we're just simply pointing out the frickin' facts here. And the facts are that Donald Trump has repeatedly tried to warn Gavin Newsom, he repeatedly tried to help during his first term in office, but Gavin never played ball. Take a look at this clip.
The nation's 27 Republican governors for dinner at Mar-a-Lago, echoing comments he made earlier in the week about California's response to the wildfires. Trump didn't hold back when it came to criticizing California Governor Gavin Newsom.
I got all of the approvals, and he said, I don't want to sign it. I don't want the water. We don't need the water. I said, you need the water. Your reservoirs are empty, the whole place. You need the water. That was 5 years ago. And if you notice yesterday, the hydrants were empty. They didn't have any water, many of them. And that's the reason that this happened. He wouldn't do what we wanted. And we're going to force that upon him now. But it's very late, because I think it's one of the great catastrophes in the history of our nation.
In order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. You got to see this. We're driving up, and I had never seen it before. It's like Iowa. It's the most fertile land. Iowa's blessed with great land. Idaho for a potato, right?
Yeah.
But they're just, by the way, some land is good for a potato, some land is good for corn. It's the craziest thing. I love the farmers. They're great. They're the greatest. And by the way, they're getting killed right now.
They are.
They're getting killed because of this stupid administration. But so I see this, and I said, you got to be kidding.
Donald Trump claims he had all the approvals and that Gavin Newsom wouldn't sign them. He says, I told him that you need water, your reservoirs are empty. And that was 5 years ago, but now we're going to force it on him. And of course, many of the leftoids are claiming that Donald Trump's just lying, this never actually happened, but we got the frickin' receipts. Trump said he told him 5 years ago. What year is it right now? We're early 2025. So if we go back 5 years, that's early 2020, or you could say late 2019. And well, would you look at that? Back in November of 2019, Donald Trump tweeted this on a Twitter thread. And yes, back then it was a Twitter thread, not an X thread. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, has done a terrible job of forest management. I told him from the first day that we met that he must clean his forest floors, regardless of what his bosses, the environmentalists, demand of him. He must also do burns and cut fire stoppers. Every year as the fires rage and California burns, it's the same thing. And then he comes to the federal government asking for monetary help. No more. Get your act together, Governor. You don't see close to the level of burn in other states, but our teams are working well together and putting these massive and many fires out, great firefighters. Also open up the ridiculously closed water lanes coming down from the north. don't pour it into the Pacific Ocean should be done immediately. California desperately needs water and you can have it now. Guys, that's from 2019 and that's Donald Trump basically having the exact conversation that we're having today. And again, I want to get ahead of the typical arguments that you'd expect here. Many people are going to discredit Donald Trump's claim by trying to focus on the initial point he made on the first tweet, talking about cleaning the forest floors. Oh, well, that's not how this fire started, therefore what he's saying is not even relevant here. But by the time we get to the third tweet, he's talking about the water. He's talking about how California is just dumping a lot of the rainwater that they're collecting back into the Pacific Ocean instead of rerouting it to reservoirs. Donald Trump's been trying to warn Gavin Newsom. He's been trying to warn, frankly, the country and the state of California for a very long time. But what has the media done? They've done nothing but discredit Donald Trump. Oh, he's a crazy person. Oh, he's peddling in conspiracy theories. It's just a partisan political attack against Governor Gavin Newsom because he views him as a threat. If the Democrats ever wanted to run him against him, there was always a narrative, right? Anytime Donald Trump ever speaks about anything scientific or policy related, the media is always calling him a dumbass, essentially. But he was right all along, and the media was more focused on fact-checking Donald Trump than they were on having an open and honest conversation about the risks and the mismanagement in California. And you could argue that had devastating, deadly consequences. We need to put emphasis and focus on this, and it's not politicizing tragedy. We're not trying to dunk on California or dunk on Gavin Newsom. No, it's legitimate concern, and there have been repeated warnings. This has been a topic of discussion, concern. Donald Trump has lobbed and issued and heeded warnings for years, and they did nothing, ever. And now they just continue to lie and obfuscate, shift blame, or play the victim. I mean, it's unbelievable. Gavin Newsom's talking about checking all the misinformation, but he's the guy going out publicly claiming that the reservoirs were full, or that California never prioritized environmentalist policies above water collection. No, none of that ever happened, except it literally did. He's lying, he's gaslighting you, because Gavin Newsom is always playing politics, and in this case, he played politics with people's lives. You know, one thing's very obvious to me. It's clear that Donald Trump was actually concerned, he actually cared, and he wanted to make sure that the residents of California were safe. And on the flip side, California Governor Gavin Newsom, well, he was just playing politics. He never actually cared. He didn't care about doing the basics when it comes to his responsibility as a manager, as a state manager. No, he cared more about resisting Donald Trump. And that's why he refused to work with the Donald Trump administration back then. That's why he didn't sign any of the proposals. He did nothing because he was more focused on saying, we're not going to play ball with Donald Trump, who wants to attack and destroy our environment. He cared more about crafting this narrative as if he was some sort of leftist hero, challenging the destruction that Donald Trump was trying to impose on his state, but all the while it was a selfish political act. And the end results were clearly devastating. This needs to be the topic of conversation, especially with Donald Trump heading to office here again. The contrast in leadership, I think now it's as clear as it's ever been. And I think the idea of Gavin Newsom running in 2028 at this point is probably shot. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if Gavin Newsom was recalled successfully, and the state, especially on the governor level, starts moving red. You know, I think people are presented with two different sides here: utter incompetence, political posturing above good governance, and then the other side that's been ahead of the curve, that's been warning, and that clearly wants to focus on the basics of governance. We got two sides presented, and now it's time for people to start picking a team. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.